Are you ready? Well, get comfy, folks. It's story time. Both glitches happened about 10 years ago, about 5 months apart. My ex and I used to drive from Oregon to Reno at least once a month, sometimes more. We had a very set routine. Stop in Eureka, California on the way down, fill up and change drivers. Going home, we'd fill up at a station in Reno right before we hit the freeway, then fill up and change drivers in Mount Shasta, California. We drove this route probably 35 to 40 times over the course of a couple of years, going via 89, 36, 44, 395. One time driving back, we were late getting on the road. I didn't fill up at the station in Reno. We drove and talked and whatever till we pulled into our regular gas station in Mount Shasta and filled up. Hours later, we had a quarter tank. We looked at the receipt and also verified it on our next gas card bill. We filled up with 10.2 gallons there. After we got back on the road, I started thinking back and asked my husband if we had stopped for gas somewhere and I was just blanking. He said no, but he was looking at me like he too was starting to realise what I was getting at. As far as either of us could remember, we hadn't gotten gas since Eureka on the way down, but we had driven at least 500 miles on 3/4 of a tank. Here's the numbers. Eureka to the hotel in Reno, 260 miles. The hotel to Shasta is 220 miles. Our 2004 Hyundai Elantra had a 14.5 gallon tank. When we filled up at Shasta, we had approximately 4 to 4.5 gallons of gas left. 14.5 to 10.2. The car got 35 to 35-ish miles per gallon on the freeway max, tops even on a full tank. I have to imagine we will be pushing it to get 500 miles out of it. But we had a quarter of a tank left when we got to Shasta. So either we had a glitch or our car, one time, inexplicably got almost 50 miles to the gallon. It certainly never did before or after. We were together the whole weekend, so I know he didn't gas up when I wasn't there. We drove the car around Reno that weekend, maybe 20 to 30 miles max, but we always parked it ourselves. It was never parked at valet, so no one else could have gassed it up. We always only used a specific gas card at certain stations, as we got a discount based on our usage. We looked over our statement the next month to verify that we didn't fill up somewhere else and just weren't remembering. It was so disturbing. I started researching whether high elevations had an effect on gas, maybe making it expand or something. But even if that was the case, why would it happen just one time? It was winter, so I didn't think it expanding through heat was a consideration, although I could be wrong. I could never find a suitable explanation. The second glitch was about 5 months later. There was a spot on the 395 freeway where it opened up into 2 lanes, about an hour before Reno. I always knew the spot, and knew when we hit it that we were about an hour away. I remarked to my husband, just another hour, to which he agreed, and then seriously, I looked down to put something away in my purse, looked up, and all of a sudden the lights of Reno were right in front of us. I looked around and was dumbfounded. I asked my husband what happened, and he looked at me like I was crazy. I asked him if I hadn't just said we were about an hour away, and he said yes, an hour ago. I didn't push it too much because I didn't want him to think I was crazy, but I asked him probably 10 times if he was messing with me. I lost an hour in the time it took me to look down at my purse. I almost started hyperventilating. I was so freaked out. I was worried I had a stroke or something. We were both sober and awake both times. Neither of us do drugs. For the gas, the only logical explanation is that we got gas. Didn't fill up though. Paid via a payment method we don't have a record of. We never had cash on us. We always used credit or debit cards, and neither of us remember it. I've never talked to him further about the hour I lost, but I think there's a time warp or something around that area. Backstory. A few years ago, I used to stay at my friend's house almost every weekend. We were both 15. He lived in the city, so almost every time I was over there, we would sneak out around 2 a.m. Now there is one time that we did this that really stands out to me. There was a building near his house that we would usually go to and sit on top of it when we snuck out. It was only about a 10-minute walk from his house, and we would only stay for about 30 minutes in case his parents woke up. Every time we left his house, we would write down the time on the notepad of one of our phones. 2:04 a.m. was the exact time we left the house. 2:04 a.m. We get to this building, and I turn on my phone to look at a text I had just received. I almost dropped to my knees. The time was 4:30 a.m. exactly. My friend turned on his phone too. 4:30 a.m. There was absolutely no way we had been walking for any more than 10 to 15 minutes. We must have sat there in shock for 5 minutes. We then sprinted back to his house where, thank God, his parents had not woken up. This friend is still my best friend, and we still have not been able to come to a solid conclusion about that night. Hi, this is my first post, as I've never really had much to say and usually just lurk in this sub. This probably doesn't belong here, but I don't really know where else to put it. So far, only 3 things have happened, all within the space of a week. Firstly, me and my mum were in the living room thinking about a movie to watch. We hadn't turned on the TV yet, and we were the only 2 people in the house. It was about lunchtime, I'd say. We heard a woman's voice say, "Hi, I'm here," sounding as though they were just walking into the kitchen and coming towards where we were. It creeped us out, so as we weren't expecting anyone, we quickly went to see who it was, but there was no one there, and the back door was still shut. We thought it was weird, but brushed it off. Next, I was round a friend's house, sleeping the night, when my mum texted me. "Bloody hell, I swear I just heard your voice in the kitchen saying, 'Here you go.'" She seemed really freaked out, and she definitely wouldn't be one to lie, as she's sort of sceptical about it all in the first place. Edit. It's weird, because on my most recent birthday, January the 28th, my family and I went out for dinner at a restaurant out of town, and my grandma texted my mum saying, "Are you having a nice McDonald's?" Which confused us because obviously we weren't at McDonald's, we were in the car. So we texted back saying, "We're not at McDonald's." And she said, "What? No, I just saw you." But she swears she did see me and Mum. Weird stuff is happening. The latest thing could have been sleep paralysis, but it definitely didn't feel like it, as I could move and everything, and I was aware of my surroundings. But I guess I could have been half asleep or hallucinating, but I never have before. Basically, I woke up in the middle of the night. I was sleeping on the sofa, and my mum was sleeping on the other sofa because we had people round upstairs. And I swear I saw my cousin standing next to where my mum was sleeping, smiling really freaky, wearing everything she usually does. And then she turned to me and looked confused that I could see her, and then she proceeded to smirk. Her face was so creepy that I turned over and tried to go back to sleep. I don't know why I didn't wake my mum up or try to talk to my cousin, but I guess I was pretty spooked. I guess you could rule it down to sleep paralysis, but as I said, I could move and everything, like normal. I've always felt I have a sixth sense/psychic ability, so when I woke up I remembered what happened. Still completely sure it wasn't a dream, and actually happened, and told my mum. I texted my cousin to make sure she was okay, just in case, and to be on the safe side in case it was a premonition. She texted back later that she was fine. I'll update if anything else happens. Be sure to tell me if this is in the wrong sub and I'll move it. I just really don't know where to put it. Edit. Something happened about a year ago. I didn't think it was really relevant to the other occurrences, but thought I might as well mention it. I had just gotten into bed, so I wasn't even tired yet, but I had to get up early the next day, so I thought I'd try and sleep early. I was looking at the wall when a black shadow of a hand and forearm reached across the wall where my face was, wiggled its fingers and clasped their hand as if to grab something. Its fingers were so flexible, it was as if it was boneless. I even tried to repeat the action to see if it was human, but it couldn't be. It was a fluid motion, and the shadow was so dark. It spooked me to this day.